everybody. What a great night. Record turnout tonight, which is great. And I want to thank Norm Simon and Andrew London, the co-chairs. Louis Bradbury, former co-chair, one of the honorees. I also want to thank Billy Eichner for being MC. You know, Billy and I have a lot in common. If you're ever wondering where we are, you can usually find us in front of a camera yelling about something. I also want to congratulate, you've heard why, our great executive director, Nathan Schaefer. Now, you may remember, last year when I was here, I sang Nathan a little ditty from Guys and Dolls. Nathan, over the past few years, you certainly proved you're a good old, reliable Nathan. Thanks for your good work. And I know we have many of my colleagues in government here, Scott Stringer, Chis James, State Senator Brad Hoylman. And lastly, before I go further, I want to recognize two of my staff, members past and present who have worked for years advancing the cause of LGBT rights. Julieta Lopez and Alex Levy, thank you for your dedication and devotion. Now, my friends, we have a whole lot to celebrate this year. It seems every year I've come here, we've made another historic leap towards full equality. When I came here in 2012, we celebrated the first year of marriage equality in New York, and I personally celebrated at Chris Quinn's wedding, which, by the way, was an epic party. As you know, Chris is tonight's honoree, and I want to praise her for her vision, her poise, her courage, to everything she does. I know her for decades. I've seen her strength in quiet times. I've seen her commitment to the issues we all care about, and of course, she's been a pillar of the LGBT movement in New York and beyond. Let's have a great round of applause for Chris Quinn. Now, when I came here last year, we celebrated an extraordinary victory. The Supreme Court's decision to strike down the odious Defense of Marriage Act, and that hot June day in June 2013, on that hot day, the highest court finally said what we all know to be true. Gay men and women should be equal in the eyes of the law. A simple but powerful thought. The heroes of that case are with us tonight, Edie Wenzer and Robbie Kaplan. And I want to say, so much of that victory had to do with the quality of the people before the court. Robbie and Edie are not your run-of-the-mill counsel-client duo. Edie and Robbie are tough, tenacious women with a sense of humor and unflappable resolve. Simply put, they personify the qualities that made New York great, and we're so proud of them as New Yorkers. Let's have a round of applause again for Robbie and Edie. Now, already we're seeing the ripple effects of the Windsor case in legal decisions around the country, almost every week. Federal courts from Utah to North Carolina have struck down anti-gay marriage laws, citing Windsor as precedent. The Windsor victories' demolition of DOMA was enough to enshrine it in the casebooks as a legal landmark. But in the 15 months since the decision came down, it's become clear that Windsor's greatest legacy may be its precedential power. These past few years, there's a good lawyer out there. These past few years, we've had so much to celebrate, and this year's no different. Just recently, the Supreme Court, I was pleasantly surprised when they refused to hear appeals challenging several freedom to marry laws, expanding the right to marry in Virginia, Utah, Oklahoma, Indiana, and Wisconsin. The freedom to marry is marching on, moving from state to state and coast to coast. Progress is on the march. And here's the best news of all. Even in Sarah Palin's backyard, gay couples now have the right to marry. To borrow one of Mrs. Palin's favorite expressions, that's progress, don't you know? Members of the LGBT community are increasing their presence on the federal bench. Here in New York, we're proud to have Paul Etkin and Allie Nathan and Pam Chen donning the black robes. And listen to this. Again, you wouldn't believe even a year or two ago we would say this. Even Senator Cruz and Senator Cornyn of Texas, a very polite crowd, thank you. Two of the Senate's staunchest conservatives recommended an openly gay judge who would be the first in the state of Texas. That's progress. So now we've reached the watershed moment. The majority of Americans live in states that recognize the legal right for gay men and women to get married. We're up to 30 states, and in 5 more states, federal appellate rulings have set a precedent in favor of the freedom to marry, meaning the path is cleared for the freedom to marry to come in those states. When historians trace the gay rights movement from the Stonewall on Christopher Street to the Supreme Court on First Street, they're going to remember moments like this, when the laws of our land finally begun to reflect the beliefs and ideals that make our country great. Now, we know it's been a long time coming, too long, but support for marriage equality is not only the majority opinion, it is now the law for a majority of Americans. And the speed of change has been rapid. That's no coincidence. It's because of people like you who helped lay the groundwork for our success. Each of these victories, amazing, joyous, euphoric, and there are no other words to describe it. But we will not let our joy distract us from the work that remains to be done. When the news broke of the Supreme Court's refusal to hear the appeals, the Washington Post ran a headline saying the fight over gay marriage is over. The headline struck me because in some ways it's true. The wind is at our backs. Young Americans of both parties, even very conservative young people, support the freedom to marry by wide margins. And we're never going back to an America that treats LGBT community as second-class citizens. But in some ways, the headline is maddeningly deceptive. Martin Luther King said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And in this modern civil rights movement, we must march forward until we stamp out injustice everywhere. The fight over gay marriage is not over yet. We are winning and winning big. But we must march forward until every state, red, blue, or purple, can fly a rainbow flag over their courthouse. We must march forward until it's no longer true that in a state like North Carolina, you can get married on Saturday and then fired on Monday because your boss learned of your sexual orientation. That's why we need to pass ENDA, to protect gay, lesbian, and transgender employees from discrimination. The Senate passed it with substantial bipartisan support, but the bill remains stalled in the graveyard of important legislation called the House of Representatives. We have enough votes in the House to pass ENDA. It'll pass if they put it on the floor. But the Republican leadership refuses to bring it to the floor for an up or down vote. We must march forward until our culture no longer condones the kind of homophobia that makes kids feel like they have permission to to bully their LGBT classmates. And as I look out tonight, I can see many of you wearing the purple in support of the Spirit Day anti-bullying campaign. I want you to know I'm with you in this fight against the scourge of bullying. In state after state, rights are advancing. In court after court, discriminatory law after discriminatory law is being struck down. There's no question about it. Equality is on the march. Of course, the forces that oppose equality are motivated, well-funded, aggressive, and often mean. But, except for the meanness, so are we. We're motivated, we're well-funded, we're aggressive, and the undeniable truth is that we have momentum. So with your voices leading the way, we'll pass ENDA and end discrimination in the workplace. We'll create an America where your sexual orientation is not a topic of political debate or reason for a child to be picked on. We'll strike down anti-marriage laws state by state until all our brothers and sisters nationwide can marry the man or woman they love, plain and simple. I want you to know, you are my brothers and sisters, and I thank you once again for the privilege of inviting me here tonight. Onward to complete equality.
And now, to honor tonight's Douglas W. Jones honoree, Christine Quinn, New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Governor Andrew Cuomo. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person tonight, but I'm on my way to the Dominican Republic in Puerto Rico.